Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Sisumoi TV. I'm Alex. I'm one of our founders. And today we are interviewing Miss Lynn Antenucci. Welcome, Lynn.
Hi, Alex. Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you here, Lynn. For those of you that don't know, Lynn is an incredible person. This is a very close friend of mine. She is an infant and toddler teacher at Friends School of Baltimore. She's also a mom of 3 grown amazing children that are so sweet and wonderful, and I'm obsessed with. She's also a registered yoga teacher of 200 hours. I remember when Lynn was getting her training, so she knows what she's doing with yoga. And she's also a registered behavioral technician working with kids with special needs. So this woman is a busy lady and somebody that I have had the pleasure of getting to know over the past couple of years, somebody that has quite a story. And in honor of Sisu and Mother's Day coming up as a mother-daughter company, we wanted to highlight Lynn's story to you guys. So as I mentioned, she's a Sisu leader. There's quite a lot which has led her to her newfound business, Mama Love Yoga, which she has just launched. So we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, I wanted to touch base on kind of how Lynn became such a great mom, how it started for her, and some of the wisdoms that she's gained from that. So Lynn, if you wouldn't mind just kind of telling everyone about being a mom and how that started for you and some of the wisdoms that you've gained from your journey.
Absolutely. Well, I literally have always wanted to be a mom. As a little girl, I would just play with dolls. I played dress up and just pretend I'm a mom. I had the kitchen set. I would feed my babies. And I just thought it was the most glorious thing. So really, it was just such a strong desire for me to be a mom and just have my people around me all the time, my favorite people. And it really developed into that right away, What I did know, I really just didn't realize how hard motherhood would be. Yeah. Nobody does, really. It's like, how can you possibly know what you're doing? Your baby doll, you can put them down. They don't say anything. They don't cry. That's a whole different story. But the journey of becoming a mom was so much different. And once it finally did happen for me, I remember really being scared and wondering, how am I going to do this? How do you create that healthy family life?
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a time where parents were, disciplinary. They were there, they provided for you, but the relationship factor, I think, lacked, where you just didn't have those certain conversations. You kept things from your parents and you just didn't want to talk about certain things. And they really didn't want to talk to you about certain. And I just wanted something different. I wanted my kids to come to me. I wanted to be able to be that person of wisdom. You go through so much in life and you really just want to share that and pass that on.
Yeah.
So that was really my goal, motherhood, like day one, like I really want this. And then really not knowing quite how to get there, but the desire was so strong,
Yeah. And I think, a lot of, there's a lot of moms out there and it's, one day I hope to be a mom and I think you really don't know until it happens and there is no rule book. But I think the thing that really stood out to me is how much love is in your home. I mean, when I came over there, Joel is playing beautiful piano for us. Like, Jeremy's on the computer mixing music. Lily's adorable and like dating like basically Justin Bieber and her cute little boyfriend. And they're just like the sweetest family. And I thought, gosh, I really want something like this. It's so natural. Everybody is respectful and loves each other. And it's what it should look like. And that's where, Lynn and I kind of talked a little bit about, well, how did you do that? I hope to have that one day as a mom. And what sort of wisdoms can you gain from that? And did you grow up like that? And, how did you kind of get there?
Well, really, it all kind of comes to the point of it being such an important goal for me that I really wanted to be able to talk and be open. And so I really do believe that when you start, as soon as you're pregnant, you start to feel your body, and you just have to adjust and change and make choices. If I need to sit, I need to sit. Once the baby's born, it's those first 2 years that are so foundational and so precious. And it's just really going with the flow and making adjustments where you need to, being a good listener, being intuitive, just responding and having compassion on yourself through the process.
Yeah.
That's really one of the big things, is not being too hard on yourself, because you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Completely natural. It's okay. And I think that was one thing that I taught my kids, was anytime I made a mistake, I would be the first one to tell them, I'm sorry, I messed up, and really own that. And, it wasn't me talking at them anymore. It's me on their same level saying, hey, I messed up.
Yeah.
And they in turn respect that. And you just have that relationship that it's one moment at a time, one moment at a time, being respectful, listening, making them a priority.
Yeah.
All of those things combined together.
It's so important. And I think that's such a lost thing, even in relationships, it seems like people don't know how to apologize. And, when they've messed up, and the respect that comes from that, when somebody can admit, that they were at fault, because it's not there's not a rule book, and there isn't any perfect way to do anything. And you're kind of just figuring it out. So when you were growing up, is this something you had to kind of teach yourself? Did you have this sort of relationship with your mom, or is this something that you chose to embody for your own children that was different?
Well, for me, as a child, I did have dysfunction in my family. When I was 10 years old, I was sexually abused by a family member. And, as a young child, you really don't know, you don't understand what's going on. Yeah. But by the time I had reached that age, because it just started young, by the time I reached 10, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is wrong. And I finally got the courage to approach my mom and say, Mom, and I said, this is what's happening, and it's been happening for a while. And at that time, she just couldn't receive what I was saying to her. And she just kind of shook her head and said no, and just walked away from me. And it was that moment, that was such a defining moment for me as a young 10-year-old little girl, that I just felt completely worthless. Like I didn't matter. Like my voice didn't matter, that I just didn't matter. And I gave up. Right in that moment. And that was such a huge defining moment for me, that I had years, after that. I just became very rebellious. I just sought after love in all the wrong forms, all the wrong relationships. My grades went down in school. Just anything that could go wrong went wrong. I just did it all, or knew someone that did, kind of thing. And it was just crazy. But that's kind of what inspired me so much to want to have the exact opposite. I really, really, really wanted that for myself and for my future family and generations down the line. I didn't want that to carry over.
Yeah.
And so really, once I became an adult, I decided that it was my turn to really heal myself of this, to really break it down. I read so many books. I immersed myself in journaling, counseling, relationship with God, yoga, everything. Everything contributed to the healing process. And it wasn't overnight, but through all of those steps, I really did heal. And that's the amazing piece. And that's really what I love to share with people is, yes, you can heal and you can have an amazing life despite anything that's happened.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's so incredible, Lynn, because there are so many people that deal with sexual abuse and they don't talk about it, or they don't come full circle from healing from it and realize the silver lining that can come out of the perspective that it gives you and how precious it is to protect your children from that type of thing. I think your story is really inspiring. And I feel for that part that you mentioned with your mom. She wasn't ready to hear that, and that's actually happened a few times with people I've known where, they have brought it up and the family was too shocked and heartbroken over it to even accept it. A form of denial just kind of takes over. Yeah. And, a lot of times relationships don't heal from something like that. It was a defining moment for you. But now what is your relationship like with your mom? Have you talked about it?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to say we have a wonderful relationship now. We really do.
Oh, great.
I love my mom. She's wonderful. And really, it was about me understanding that at the time that I told her, it wasn't her denial of what I was saying was not her denial of loving me. And that was really huge. It was the fact that she was dealing with her own pains, her own wounds, and just didn't have the capacity to help me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I have forgiven her and we've talked about it, and we've rebuilt a really beautiful relationship, but it was really about me understanding her mindset and not taking it internally as, oh, I am rejected by you. That was not her intent.
Yeah.
So
that's so beautiful, because I think there is a full circle moment in your life where, the kid becomes the parent, and the parent you now look at as a peer, and that they were just trying to figure it out themselves, and not to deny where they were in it, but also acknowledge that they're not perfect as well. And it's, you can't always, all the work that you had put into your own emotional development, I think some people expect that level from others, and not everybody has that capacity. They're not at that level, but take it for what it is, that there is a form of apology and your opportunity to forgive.
Yes, absolutely. And even if you don't hear from your mom or from whomever you're talking to those words that you want to hear, even if they never say they're sorry, it's about coming to that realization within yourself, knowing, I forgive them because I understand, hurting people hurt people, comes from somewhere. And so it's never a personal thing.
Yeah. And I think that, that part of Sisu is really speaking to your empathy and understanding. I think anger can block all of that. You can kind of forget the other side of things to, realize that truth. I think that's very wise of you to say. But I love, I think one of the things that I love about you, Lynn, when we became friends, is you have such a Zen, calm nature. You can tell that you're in yoga and some sort of healer and read a lot of books, but you also are very straight up, which I love. And I think a lot of people identify with that, people that you work with, the children that you work with every day. As a behavioral therapist with kids with special needs, you can, with anybody really, with your own kids, you can be real, but you can also be calm, present, and nurturing through that. How did you get into yoga? Why was that so? I know a lot of people talk about yoga as being a saving grace for them, especially after trauma. What is it for you that, that is so special?
Well, it's really what I have found for myself is that it's an act of self-love. My yoga mat is my space. It's my boundaries. It's kind of my safe place.
Yeah.
And when I get on my mat, there is no judgment there. It's just me, it's the mat, and I can let out and release anything that no longer serves me that day. And I can also gain energy from it. And it's not about yoga for me, has always been about the emotional, physical connection and just a release and then an energizing. It's never been about getting all the postures perfectly correct. It's not about doing handstands. I can't do any of those things. Some days I'm flexible, some days I'm completely stiff, and it's okay. It's absolutely okay. It's not about any of that. It's about your time, your space, giving yourself that love you need. There have been so many days when I've sat on my mat and just cried, and that's what I needed. That was my yoga practice that day. And that's perfect.
And I think that's amazing. I love that you're not, high and mighty about it. You're kind of, I'm doing it the best I can. It's for me. It's my own time. I love the part about breathing in what you are and breathing out what you're not. I think that that's amazing. And if people, even if it wasn't yoga, had a chance each day to kind of, affirm those amazing things about themselves, that's when a lot of strength can come through. How did you choose, being a mom of 3 and working with kids and Mama Love Yoga? How did all of this come together?
Well, when I started teaching again, young children, I was introducing yoga postures in the classroom just for fun, and they absolutely loved it. There's so much joy came from their little faces that it just inspired me so much to just really want to focus on the little ones,
Yes.
They're just so full of energy, and it's just really beautiful. And I think because of my past, because I felt like in a way my childhood was taken from me, that I find that time so precious and so valuable. And it just energizes me to give back, and maybe even takes me to that space myself to kind of recreate my own,
yes,
joy, as a young person again. And so it's just, there's a lot of energy and it's very positive. And so that's what I love. And I also really love moms. I just really honor motherhood all around and feel like it's an honor to be a mom, and we should be loving on our moms,
Yeah,
and that's how I feel.
Yes. And I hadn't even thought about that, that this is recreating, these special memories in a healing way for you. Lynn, for us, that's what a Sisu hero is. They have been challenged mentally, physically, and spiritually. And not only do they heal from it, but they rise above it and actually embrace that as a silver lining and opportunity for teaching and helping others. And the way that yoga has come together, you being a mom, now teaching kids, and just connecting through that special bond. Is that what Mama Love Yoga is about? Or why the name? What
that is all. That's the whole thing. Although, you can't leave out your regular ladies, right?
Right.
And sometimes, like I've said before, sometimes you just need a little mama love. So yes. Everyone is welcome. I teach for all ages, all stages, and I find it beautiful. I really love healing and having women just really finding that self-love for themselves. And that's really my joy, is if I can help guide you through a session and you find that peace for yourself and you can take that home and do it at home, then I think that's beautiful, and just continue on with it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, especially in families, you know, that sometimes getting out of the house and getting out of just a daily interaction and in some sort of physical or wellness setting can be very healing in itself. And I love that you've included some mama love in there, because I just love you have the best energy, Lynn. You make me crack up and you make me feel zen all at the same time. So I would love to come to your classes. So tell us about Mama Love. I know you did yoga classes before with Frida Yoga. This is your second business. So tell us about Mama Love. If anybody that needs some Mama Love, or anybody is looking to do yoga with themselves and their little one, what sort of classes do you have? How are they hosted? Where are they?
Absolutely. Well, we can do a Zoom class. That is always an option. And I can always come to anyone. I can go to any location. Maybe a couple of moms might want to go to a park, do a mommy and me class. So I'm available to travel. I'm available for Zoom, and, would love to host something.
That's great. And how do people find you?
They can go right onto my email right now. It's loveyoga@gmail.com. And so that would be the best way, email.
I love it. I'm so proud of you as a friend and as somebody that really is an amazing mom. That is so obvious every time I'm with you. And I hope that when I'm a mom, I have the same relationship with my kids that you do. And I would absolutely love to see little babies doing yoga. That's the cutest thing I've ever thought of. But Lynn, you really are a Sisu hero. And I hope that people that are listening today, feel free to reach out to Lynn. She's an amazing healer and just person. And we just thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh my gosh, it's our pleasure. Thanks, girlfriend.